Before we start today's episode, I gotta tell you about this amazing vinyl furniture I just got from SidetrackedWorkshop.com. I now have the double sidekick model in my front room, and it's absolutely killer. It holds a couple hundred records, and it looks beautiful. Check it out on my Instagram. It's very handsome indeed. And when you get a moment, check out SidetrackedWorkshop.com and show off your vinyl in style. That's SidetrackedWorkshop.com.
Welcome to The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. Here's your host, the biggest record nerd of them all, Nate Goyer.
Oh, that's me. Hey, everyone, it's Nate. Welcome to episode 484 of The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. And ladies and gentlemen, this week, we're very proud to welcome to the show John and Robbie of the Goo Goo Dolls. And today, the fellas reflect on their hugely successful and absolutely wild musical journey, from their early days and their punk rock roots to the creation of mega hits like Name and Iris, to absolutely traumatic moments like being in a plane crash, a near career crippling case of writer's block, and of course being pursued by one Howard Stern. John and Robbie have seen a lot, and today they share it on the Vinyl Guide podcast, as well as discussing their upcoming Australian tour. If you're in Canberra, Sydney, Newcastle, Brisbane, Adelaide, or Melbourne, or close to any one of those, check it out February 2025, tickets at googooDolls.com. And no matter where you're at in the world, Australia or otherwise, there is a 30th anniversary edition of A Boy Named Goo, coming out March 14th. It's a major revisiting of the Goo Goo Dolls' landmark album, being presented in a 2LP format, featuring the original album, several B-sides, an unreleased performance from 1996, and lots more. There's a couple of tracks already on streaming services now. You could check it out. Of course, set yourself up to get the full collection once it's available on March 14th. Or you could order the vinyl set today from your local record shop. And hey, there is a limited 2LP edition pressed on sea blue vinyl available exclusively at the band's web store, googooDolls.com. And hey, if you're new to the Vinyl Guide podcast, we welcome you with open arms and a fridge full of beer. Simply follow this podcast in your podcast app and enjoy many other artists we spoke to about their music, rare records, recordings, and a lot more, including Steve Malkmus of Pavement, episode 481, Jeff and Stephen McDonald of Red Cross, episode 476, Mac McKagan of Superchunk and Merge Records, episode 471, Jerry Cantrell of Alice in Chains, episode 467, Eddie Kramer, producer of Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, and lots more, episode 466, Matt Cameron of Soundgarden and Pearl Jam joined us, episode 425, and literally hundreds more. Listen for free by following the podcast in your podcast app, or you can get the commercial-free and high-resolution versions at patreon.com/vinyl guide. And we thank each of you in advance for your ear time. And with that, let's talk records, punk rock, mega hits, and plane crashes with John and Robbie of the Goo Goo Dolls. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this week on the Vinyl Guide, we are proud to present Robbie and John of Goo Goo Dolls. God, they got so much stuff going on. You got the Australian tour coming up, which we'll talk about. You got the 30th anniversary of A Boy Named Goo. You got a bunch of things. And John, you're recovering from pneumonia, as I understand. Is that right?
I'm recovering from pneumonia, 3 operations that I had to put my elbow and my hand back together. So I'm a little beat up.
Oh, jeez. Those weren't all related somehow, were they?
Well, they were. The elbow, it was like 40 years of playing guitar. And
okay.
just sort of like I had golfer's elbow and tennis elbow at the same time. And I've never played golf or tennis in my life. And
rocker's elbow, I think they got to call it.
Yeah.
And then
it happens.
I had a trigger finger that I needed to get clipped. So I decided they wanted me to have 3 operations at 3 separate times. But we're so busy. I was like, I don't have 18 weeks of recovery time. So do them all at the same time. And the doctor was like, can I do all 3 of these at the same time? And then he was like, okay, we'll try it. And there we are.
They Frankensteined you back together and they're putting you on a plane to Australia.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's all good.
Very good. We're looking forward to having you down here. We're a little bit worried when that if you're going to make the February dates, but it sounds like you can. And
Oh yeah.
if you have trouble hitting the high notes, I'm sure the crowds will help you out there.
No, the only thing that's really holding out is my voice. It's the rest of my body that's like cracking. Yes.
Look, I mean, where do we start? As I understand, I don't want this to be the typical Goo Goo Dolls interview. I know you guys always get the main questions. How did you get the name and crap like that? But I want to go back a little bit further. I want to go back early on. You guys were a much heavier band. You guys were very influenced by punk rock, as I understand. Is that right?
Oh yeah, I was all very, very influenced by punk rock, but I was also very influenced by, for lack of a better term, new wave music and alternative rock at the time, and college rock when they called it college rock. Bands like, REM, Hoodoo Gurus, Replacements. Obviously, everyone says that, but the Clash, the Damned, the reason that I loved the Ramones really helped me pick up the guitar, because I heard those songs and I said to myself, well, I could play that. And then you start a band with your three friends, and you play Ramones covers.
Yeah. Is that a similar trajectory for you, Robbie?
Well, I think when we were younger, like I think that all the music we listened to just sort of, I don't know, in a weird sort of, I mean, it of course affected what we did, but when the three of us played together, we were just trying to be loud. We were trying to be fast. When we were kids, we were trying to be aggressive, and all that stuff that John was talking about, all that great music that we listened to, provided melodies and things like that kind of went over the top of that craziness. And, so we fit in with a lot of those heavier bands, we would play with, everybody from bands like Holy Terror to the Gun Club and stuff like that, because it fit in with all that stuff.
Yeah, but it was like what I was also very, very heavily influenced by Bob Mould, especially Bob Mould and Husker Du.
Yeah,
and even though it was like this radical cacophonous music, when you listen to it, there's so much melodic content. And the hooks in those songs are so big, but they're just sort of they just sort of smeared it with like musical chaos on top of it. It was like, but the lyrically, melodically, Husker Du, I mean, those were beautiful songs that could be played on an acoustic guitar and sung, and they hold up.
Oh yeah, I've heard Bob Mould do acoustic versions of those songs, and it's just absolutely touching. I would also say, because you guys, you played with Bad Religion at one point, very similar with them as well. I mean, their songs are, it's like folk music at double time almost.
Yeah.
I just saw Brian Baker the other night.
Oh yeah,
yeah, in Jersey. I played a charity gig called the Light of Day for the Light of Day Foundation. And it was like Brian Baker, Jesse Malin. I was playing Springsteen. It was just like, it was crazy. It was really fun. It was really fun. He's great though. Brian Baker's
great guy.
Unbelievable. Great guy.
Did you guys used to go see hardcore shows? Did you ever see any of the SST or Discord or SST bands as they came through Buffalo?
Yeah, I mean, because we always played with all those bands, because when Robbie and I got started, we had a couple of friends. We made a couple of friends who had seen our band, and one of them became our manager. And they were sort of they were from the more affluent suburbs of Buffalo, and so we couldn't get gigs in the regular clubs because you had to play pop metal or hair metal, and you had to play cover songs. And there was, except for the Continental, that was the only club in Buffalo you could do original music in. So we started renting halls, like Masonic lodges and VFW posts. If you don't know what a VFW post in Australia is, the Veterans of Foreign War It's like where the old timers get together and drink beer. And
We call them RSLs, retired servicemen leagues.
There you go.
Okay, same thing. And we would, and they always have a theater or a hall. So we would rent these halls and throw these shows, and we created our own music scene because we didn't fit into the one that was there.
Yeah, bands like bands like Social Distortion and Bad Brains and the Cro-Mags and all these bands that you knew from back at that time, would come and play these tiny little places, and that were often like the RSL halls here in town. It's amazing.
Yeah. So back in those days, like what were some of the early artists that you guys connected on together? When you started playing music, what was the one record in both your collections you were like, yes, this is core to us?
Hard to say. I'm going to take a stretch at this, bro. I'm going to take a stab at this.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Tim by The Replacements was probably one of the first and deepest musical bonding experiences.
Yeah.
But Robbie and I are both from different sort of musical worlds, and it was kind of interesting to put the two together and see what came out, because I also really loved like Billy Bragg and Donovan and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, we listened to a lot of Let It Be. We listened to a lot. We listened to Flip Your Wig a lot. The Husker Du record, Flip Your Wig, an awful lot.
Mm-hmm. The early Soul Asylum records.
Yeah.
Everything, including Grave Dancers Union, which is an amazing record.
Yeah.
Far.
Yeah, we listened to a lot of that type of stuff. Buzzcocks, I remember we listened to a lot in the house.
Yeah. But then I was also listening to Depeche Mode and The Cure and bands like that as well. I mean, there's just such. I'm always a fan of just good songwriting, because it was like, we would listen to, like Para Ubu, and then you listen to Def Leppard, it was whatever's good.
Picking up the arrangements and the production from choosing the
business from everybody.
Yeah, it's like the AM radio mentality almost. We grew up as kids listening to AM radio, and you sort of never knew what was coming next. And I think like the alternative scene here was, everywhere. It was very much like that. People listened to Debbie Harry and listened to, the Ramones and listened to, Depeche Mode and all these sorts of different types of things, and they all made sense because, it was alternative music. It was different than the mainstream. And, and then things started to really, break into microcosms and, you've got jungle Afrobeat, it's like, they really broke the categories down, man.
Yeah. And the internet came along and screwed the whole thing up.
Yeah. It flattened the world to a point you can't recognize it anymore.
I know.
So the first record you guys had, the additional one, Goo Goo Dolls, on Mercenary Records. Talk to us about that. How'd you get involved with Mercenary, and what do you recall about that specific release?
I mean, what I recall about that was that the record label's name was unbelievably appropriate for that, because they just screwed us. And but we got a record out. That was all that mattered. And it cost us $750 they gave us. And we recorded the entire thing in 3 days. And, at least we got our feet off the ground. And Robbie and I were determined, to move from there, because we didn't leave ourselves plan B, really. One thing led to another. I mean, at least it was something that got us heard. And then we moved on to Metal Blade, and then that was whatever the hell it was.
I mean, the tour for that record, for that Mercenary record, put us out playing shows, and we got seen by this guy named William Howell at a place called Fender's Ballroom. We were playing with
Long Beach.
Yeah, exactly. We were playing with this band.
Bad Religion.
I think it was Bad Religion, and it kind of, I can't remember what the other band was. It was Gangrene and somebody else. I can't remember. But we went and did that show, and we met him in line. William Howell, our manager, saw him at the club, and talked with him. We kept in touch, and that led us to Metal Blade. So, I mean, it really was, a pivotal thing for us. I think it was also great too, because we went out with this band called Gangrene and got to see a lot of things you shouldn't do when you're out touring. Yeah, we learned a lot of lessons watching those guys, I think.
Yeah, it was very much a cautionary tale.
Yeah, for sure.
But a necessary step. I mean, it's important to learn what to do and as well as what not to do.
Oh yeah. No, you are very right. And we learned not what not to do. And then we went and did it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still learning what not to do.
that very record that you just were talking about, I remember we were standing in a bus station and the guy from the record company called us up and said, man, we got to get this record company, or we got to get this contract signed by midnight tonight, or you're going to lose your deal, the $750 record deal. And so we're like, oh my God, okay, we got to sign this. So we gave the contract to a friend of ours' dad, who was like a divorce attorney or something like that. And he took one look at the contract and said, I would never sign this in my life. And the three of us signed it and sent it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how our career started. So I don't know.
The next record, when you guys went to Metal Blade, Jed was originally on Death Records. Is that right?
Mm.
I mean, I think that label was trying very hard to break into the burgeoning sort of alternative rock movement that was going on at that time. And there was a place for these bands that were kind of maybe a little too heavy to be on this label or that label. And the truth of it was, none of the labels that we wanted to be on wanted us. SST didn't want us. Twin Tone didn't want us. Giant, whatever.
RID, we tried. Yeah,
None of them.
We tried
wanted
everybody,
us.
Man.
None of them wanted us. So then we wound up on this heavy metal label, which was trying to be an alternative rock label. So whatever.
Yeah. Again, another necessary step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a couple of bands. They had a band called Haunted Garage that was like a sort of a punk rock band, sort of, and
the
band called the Junk Monkeys. Yeah,
they were really good. They were more like that.
Death also, I seem to recall, Death had mentors.
Oh yes, they did.
Oh yeah. Oh my God,
I forgot about that. They did.
And welcome back to your grandpa's punk rock hour. Hello, kids. It wasn't always Olivia Rodrigo.
No.
No.
Hey, kids, if you don't know mentors, Google them up. But don't leave the Bluetooth speaker on very loud. So, all right. So there seems to be kind of a demarcation line, because those early records are ones that are just, they seem to like to be the ones you learned some of the lessons on, but you quickly started moving on, and songwriting became a little bit more in focus. Is that a fair characterization? Yeah,
because it was like, I sort of grew in confidence after that first record. And I was guilty of kind of painting myself into a corner, like genre wise. And really it was like, how many records can I make that sound like this? Like, I started to not relate to our own first and second record. I just sort of, I grew up a little bit, and I was sort of like, yeah, it's cool that we did that, but I couldn't relate to it. And I sort of felt like I had outgrown it. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to try other things, and and just actually, I don't know, it just kind of happened, I'm like, wow, I'm feeling this, and, of course, everybody that liked the really hard, fast punk was like, oh, you guys suck, and I'm like, whatever, but it was like, you have to grow, you got to grow.
Yeah. Well, those are the artists that have the longevity. I mean, you look at any artist, they do something new and they continue to evolve from that. So, yeah. I mean, you can't be doing the same thing you were.
Yeah, I think you gotta, I think we've been, I don't know if it was purposeful or not, but I think, we've really been respectful from record to record of the people from the record before. Like, none of our records are like meteoric, it's not like Zoo TV, like where people are like, what the hell is this band? Like
Right.
that never happened, but there was certainly something that changed every record because, from first to sixth is unrecognizable as the same band.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's like, I mean, and very much so approached it like a craft as much as like art or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I was very, very into like crafting things and building songs, as much as writing them. Um, but it just all sort of fell together. I mean, I really believe that, though. I mean, when the song Name came out, I never expected that to really be a hit. And music was changing at that point a lot, and alternative rock was becoming mainstream. And a DJ in LA played the song. They were very influential at the time. Then every radio station in the country started playing us, and it was kind of wild. It was crazy.
What was your first indication that this song was getting traction more than expected?
Yeah, okay. Robbie and I were in the back of a car that picked us up from the airport, and I was just sitting there, and we were blah 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 blah, and he picked up a Billboard magazine, and then he showed me the chart in the back, and I had no idea. Like, I really had no idea that this song was blowing up. I knew we were getting played on the radio or whatever. But then he showed me a Billboard chart, and we were in the top 10. And I was like, what? This is insane. It was like my mind couldn't process it. That was our fifth album,
I remember we were doing a video. We were doing a video for a song called Flat Top, I remember. And as we were filming the video, somebody came in and told us that Kevin Weatherly added Name. And they almost wanted to stop doing the video. It was because they were like,
wrong song.
Yeah.
Well,
we picked the wrong one,
Because that guy at the time was so influential in American radio that, he influenced all the other radio stations. And if you got a hit on K-Rock, you got a hit all over the country pretty much. They were that powerful at that time.
Yeah. And for sure.
During this period, I mean, the music industry was shifting big time, obviously, rather abruptly because Nirvana entered the scene. How did Nirvana's entrance impact what you had with Goo Goo Dolls?
I mean, one thing that the impact of Nirvana did was it just blew all that pop hair metal out off the radio and created a more open space for a newer kind of music, which was the grunge thing, and then guys like us came along shortly afterward, and there were, but that, to me, the grunge movement was really, at least in America, was the last real true rock and roll moment where you had giant rock stars, that was like the last generation of gods walking the earth who played in bands,
Yeah. Nirvana and that whole scene, it created a vacuum that a lot of people weren't sure what to put in it. And so they were starting to take a lot of additional risks that they probably wouldn't have normally done.
Yeah. Well, Nirvana sort of existed in a time where there was still some mystery. Like, like you didn't have to live stream yourself brushing your teeth in the morning in order to stay relevant, there was some mystery around that groups, and I think that's not going to happen anymore. I mean, that's finished.
Yeah. I mean, I'm grateful that I'm of an age where I don't have to go on TikTok and make a complete idiot out of myself just to get popular.
Yeah,
other people are doing that for us.
Yeah, Rollins had a very interesting point. He said punk rock is the last musical movement that was on paper. Everything else since then was digital. So with punk, you still have these sort of artifacts. And like you say, the mystery, you have to do a bit of detective work to kind of piece some of that
Yeah,
together.
absolutely.
Yeah. You know, I mean, the thing about, I mean, that's an interesting observation that Rollins makes there, because it's like, I still write on paper. I mean, I write all my lyrics and the music out on yellow legal pads, and I record the ideas into an iPhone. Used to be a cassette recorder, but it's sort of a hybrid system, but it's the same thing. It's like there's something about the connection between your brain, your hand, and a piece of paper and a pencil that a computer just doesn't do for me.
Right.
You know?
You've got all these tech companies that are trying to create a new, magic pen for an iPad, things like that. There's still no better way to express yourself quickly and accurately than with a pen and paper.
I agree. I agree.
So
whether you can read it, that's a whole nother thing.
My handwriting over the years has declined. It looks like I'm writing with my feet now, but at least I can get the idea down. So Boy Named Goo, that blows up. You guys weren't expecting that.
No.
How did that set up for Dizzy Up the Girl? The success of Boy Named Goo?
Well, I mean, what it did, okay. Probably the most valuable lessons that we learned about if you're going to play in the music business is get a really good lawyer and do what the hell he tells you to do, because, we wound up, we had our first big record, and then, wound up in a bunch of legal garbage for a year, more than a year. And it was very discouraging, and it kind of made me want to give up, because it was just like, how can you just work so hard and just have people take advantage of you to the point where you're just like, how are we going to pay our rent? We have this hit song on the radio, but we have nothing, and so, we got out of that situation and, emerged from it a little wiser. That was the beginning of my jaded period. And it was like, I really kind of circled the wagons, and I became very insular about everything. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want anybody to hear what I was doing. I got very, and I started drinking.
Even Robbie and your bandmates.
Well, not Robbie, but I mean, Robbie's really the only bandmate that I've ever had. The rest of the guys just sort of played with us. But I was so tired of all the bullshit that was going on around us, with lawyers and record executives and people, just everybody coming at you for something, that it was like, I don't know. I went and I hid out in a hotel in Los Angeles, and I wasn't able to write because I was so freaked out by everything. And so then my manager called me and he said, there's this guy, Danny Bramson, who was a music supervisor at Warner Brothers Records. They're making a film called City of Angels. They want you to write a song to be in the film. And I was like, if I can get out of my head long enough to complete this thing, I'll be okay. And what I loved about writing for film, was that I had my subject matter in front of me. So I took this kind of supportive role to try and support someone else's vision and somebody else, and try to reinforce someone's storytelling. And I loved it. Because it was like half the work was done for me, because I didn't have to conceptualize anything. I sat there and I said, well, what would I say if I were that guy? And then I did, and it worked. It was like shocking, shocking.
And at what point, obviously we're talking about the song Iris, at what point did you guys see that was just, oh my God, that's on a bigger wheel, on a bigger cog than even Name was?
I mean, what I remember most about the song Iris was it being like a year and a half after that song got released. And people coming up to me and going, man, I really love that song. I just wish they'd just stop playing it, though. Driving me crazy. I hear it every 5 minutes. I hear that damn song. And I was like,
that song came out when that song came out on that soundtrack, it was like Peter Gabriel and Alanis Morissette and U2 and and like I'm missing some of the big ones, man. Like,
but that's where we wanted to be.
Crazy list of bands, but we thought we were going to be like down at the bottom. Like we thought we would be a D side, not even a B side. Like but I mean, between our song and Alanis' song, those are definitely the two biggest songs on that record. So that really lifted us, and that came out like what, maybe John, like 6-8 months before Does He Have to Go came out, right?
Yeah, it came out almost the year before Does He Have to Go, and then. So, we did what everybody else would do, and we put it on the album because it was already a hit.
Yeah.
So,
So at that point, you had the split with Metal Blade. Do you guys control the rights to all of the Goo Goo Dolls music at this point, even back to the early records?
No, we do not, because we were lucky enough to do a sale of our publishing and our old publishing and our old mastering.
Okay.
Masters, excuse me. And, now we're building a new catalog, but that we've been very lucky. We've been really, really, really lucky. We don't control that stuff, but, but I can pay for my daughter's college.
Oh, that's important.
So it's a modern world.
So when Taylor Swift picks up Iris and plays it, I mean, that's got to be something special. I mean, here it is, one of the premier songwriters of our time refers to that song as one of the greatest ever written.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I'm
that must have made you a hero for your daughters.
Oh yeah. She came in the house maybe a month ago and proclaimed that she's a Swiftie. She's only 8. She's 8 years old, and she's, I'm a Swiftie. And then the other night we were sitting playing in the living room at my house, and I started playing the Clash for her first Clash album, and she's like, Dad, please, it's too much. And I was like, what, Lily, you don't like punk rock? And she has no idea what punk rock is. And she's like, yeah, Dad, I like punk rock, but it's just too much right now. Because it was the first Clash record, just like this poor little girl. She has no idea,
Oh, my wife comes home all the time and tells me that. Yeah, this record, no. Oh, yeah. No King Crimson in the morning. That's one of the rules here. So around this time, correct me if I'm wrong, around this time, you guys were in a plane crash. Is that right? Hey there, audiophiles. If you're seeking stylish furniture to showcase your stereo and record collection, well, look no further than SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Sidetracked Workshop designs extraordinarily elegant record cabinets and consoles that add sophistication and panache to your music hobby. Handcrafted in the good old USA in the vinyl-loving city of Portland, Oregon, Sidetracked Workshop's designs are a music lover's dream. Made with real walnut veneered wood and brass accents, these gorgeous designs add class and taste to the record room and ship fully assembled and ready to enjoy. Just check out the designs for yourself at SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Look, you spend thousands of dollars on records. Don't keep them in a crate, and don't risk your records on those feeble wooden pegs from IKEA. Your music deserves the dignity of Sidetracked Workshop. That's SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Elegant solutions for the vinyl lifestyle. Oh, and hey, record nerds, don't forget to clean your records with the very best and safest record cleaner, the Groove Washer. Make your records look and sound their very best and store them with confidence using the new Groove Washer Groove Guard record sleeves. You gotta try this out. It makes a huge difference to the quality of your vinyl experience. Ask for the Groove Washer by name at your local record store and accept no substitutes. Or head over to groovewasher.com and use discount code VINYLGUIDE10.
All hail the Groove Washer.
That's groovewasher.com, discount code VINYLGUIDE10. Around this time, correct me if I'm wrong, around this time, you guys were in a plane crash. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, that is very true.
Okay.
In Sicily,
Okay.
we were in a truck crash.
Okay. So you guys were, as I understand, on some sort of like kind of a USO kind of jibe. You're playing to troops overseas, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then they tried to kill us.
Yeah, no, we landed, the spun around on the runway, hit a pole with the wing, and
so you guys were just taking.
Slides.
You were taking.
Smoke.
Okay.
No, we were
Fire.
landing.
Okay, you were landing. Okay, let's get this. Okay, so you guys were landing, no problems at all, nothing assumed.
No, well, other than the torrential downpour that was going on and the lightning everywhere, it was perfectly fine. But the pilot circled around and circled around and circled around. He kept trying to land, and apparently he burned all his fuel. So then on the fourth approach, he had to land.
Right.
Yeah. And then we had a long time to prepare for our own deaths in a fiery crash, so yeah, luckily I had a backpack full of booze and Xanax. So, I was a very popular guy after that crash.
So you knew
But we are some of the. Well, we knew for a few minutes, but we actually like took crash position in the whole thing, man. Like, it was for real. It was for real.
The luggage compartments, like smashed down on top of the seats, and it was like it was nuts. It was nuts.
Little things pop down, the air things you put on.
Oh
there.
yeah.
No,
I think
the
they did, didn't they?
No,
Maybe they didn't. I can't remember. Believe it or not, no one took a picture.
I don't know.
You didn't live stream it. Okay, so you guys get on the ground. How did they get you back on the plane to get out of Sicily?
Okay, this is exactly what happened. Okay, we finally get to a hotel, and we have to go back to the United States the next day. So we sat up all night, literally chugging whiskey and taking pills because everybody was so freaked out. And somehow they poured us onto a commercial jetliner, and we went from Sicily to Milan, and then Milan back home. But I had to be completely drugged out and drunk because there was just no way I was ever going to get on an airplane. I was like seriously like, well, I'm going to book passage on the Queen Mary or whatever to get home because I ain't getting in an airplane ever again. So what I did when I got home, I went out to California and I started skydiving because I was so terrified to get in an airplane. And I'm like, I have to get over this fear because I got to fly for my job. And so yeah, I got myself thrown out of an airplane a bunch and got over the fear of it.
Okay, so you actually just faced it head on. You said, I got to get over this somehow. You had some nervousness. You were like, I need to beat this.
Yeah, like I'm terrified of water and swimming and things like that. So I used to throw myself in the deep end of a swimming pool and sink myself. As long as I had the wall to touch, I was okay because I knew I could get up the wall if I started to drown. But I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it to desensitize myself to it. So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's a little hardcore.
That's one way to do it, certainly.
Yeah.
So, what freaked you out more, that plane crash or getting in a feud with Howard Stern?
Well, I don't think we were in a feud with him because, how are you going to win a feud with that guy?
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean?
Don't.
It's like
you become Chevy Chase for a decade. That's what you do. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? It was like we didn't want to be on that show because we were terrified of him. That he was just going to rip us to shreds. And then, so we were like, okay, fine. No, let's just do it. Okay. And so we went on and, we got hazed and that, it's like a boys club. So we got hazed. He realized that we were good sports and everything was cool.
Yeah, we've been friendly to this day with them. They support us, let us come play songs on their channel and stuff. It's cool.
Yeah. It's a good thing.
He is absolutely the greatest.
And I got to say, he has evolved to the point. I mean, it's like he is the best long form interviewer out there.
One of them for sure.
One of them for sure, definitely. But just really intelligent. I mean, it's like it's the evolution. I enjoy that show more now than I did, 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
When it was more fart jokes.
Yeah. He knows how to get under the hood of people. He's
Absolutely. I mean,
learned
he's
so much
brilliant.
from him. Yeah.
I mean, great interviews.
So in your spare time, I was talking to Robbie before you jumped on, John. Robbie's got his record label, Good Caramel Records. You guys, are you a record collector, John? Robbie said he's got a few. You're not much of a vinyl collector?
No, I don't have one piece of vinyl. I do not have a turntable. I do not have a CD player. I do not have anything. Okay. I don't have anything in my house. It's like if you came in my house, you would never know that a musician lived there. Never. I don't have any gold records. I don't have any musical instruments except a piano that never gets played. I have no awards or anything like that. It's just, I don't want it in my house. Mm-hmm. I just want my home to be my home. And then, I'm more into, I collect vintage recording equipment. And I love messing around in the studio, and that's kind of what my hobby is. And I have an 8-year-old kid, so it's like, I just want to hang out with her and have fun,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So everything's kind of streaming for you. Like if someone wants to recommend some music or you're discovering new music, it's all on the phone, yeah?
No, I mean, yeah, well, actually, yeah, you're right. It's all on the phone now. And it's like, well, because, Apple Music and Spotify and that, I mean, you pretty much can get, I mean, there are some things that I tried to get on Spotify you can't find on there, or Apple Music, or whatever they're calling it this week. But yeah, it seems to be the only way to really get music these days. I mean, I would love to have a vinyl collection, but it's like, I was always bad with my records. I never put them back in the sleeves, like I'd wake up in the morning, I'd be drunk one night listening to music all night long, and then just stumble to bed. And then I'd wake up around noon the next day, go to the bathroom and just walk over like 40 albums right into the bathroom.
In our apartment, we had one of those stereos that had the big spindle on them, and we'd have like 7 albums piled up because we were just too lazy to take them off. Yeah. Put another one on top. No, like with what we do for a living, like we're never in one place. Like I can remember when we used to tour, like I was so happy, years ago, I was so happy when CDs came around, because I was like, wow, I can take music with me. I don't have to take, like you can listen to CDs. So we carried around a lot of those. But I mean, to be able to have, this immense library, at your disposal. I don't know, for a traveler, I don't know how you beat that, man.
Yeah, that's the good side of streaming.
Right.
The bad side is that, no one can make a living.
No one gets
making music anymore.
Was it the head of Spotify? He's got like twice as much money as Paul McCartney now, or something like that.
Yeah, I would like to say one thing to the guy that runs Spotify and the record labels. Can we say this? Fuck you!
That's right.
Wow.
I'll even put it again in there if you want.
Yeah, put a delay on it.
Oh,
big echo.
Fuck you. Assholes.
Yeah. Well, so when it comes to records and like the Goo Goo Dolls record stuff, you guys have some record store day releases that went out. Yeah, someone else kind of manages those.
I mean, we're involved with it.
No, yeah, we curate all that stuff to make sure that we're cool.
We help with the packaging,
you gotta stay on top of that stuff. It's so easy to relinquish so much control to other people that you almost you can become helpless and dependent on these other people. And honestly, if you're dependent on people and they screw you, it's your own fault.
Right.
So, so it's like we're very much like, okay, I love you guys, I trust you guys, but I'm watching you.
Right.
So don't fuck up.
So with this Boy Named Goo 30th anniversary edition coming out, there's all the different B-sides, those sort of recordings. You guys funnel all those to someone who assembles them, and then you do the final checks, or yeah, okay.
Yeah. Quite often our manager goes through his desk and finds 4 or 5 cool things and goes, "Oh man, what are we gonna do with these?" Then we put them aside until it's time, for something like this, and then he rifles through that stuff. Yeah,
and we don't have a lot of B-sides. We don't have a lot of B-side material because I throw it out. I cull it from the body of work, whatever, because I'm just like, this is crap. Why would I finish this? This is crap. And so I'm not a big B-side guy either, But I mean, I attribute that myself. Like, I don't go deep on albums a lot because, like, I grew up in a house with 5 kids, and there wasn't a lot of money. We were really broke, but we used to get between the 5 of us, and I had 4 older sisters. Okay, so I never got to pick a record, but our parents would give us enough money, like once or twice a month, to go to the department store and buy a record. So if they wanted to listen to the Rolling Stones, you bought the greatest hits record. So I grew up in this house full of greatest hits records. And it was like, and I think it helped me kind of hone a sensibility about writing a hook, because it's like, I want the hits. I don't care. Like, and this is blasphemy, but like, I'm okay just listening to David Bowie's hits. I don't got to go deep on Hunky Dory. I don't need that in my life. But, and like, there's a lot of bands like that, like Zeppelin, one of the most amazing bands. And I didn't like Led Zeppelin. I swear to God, I didn't like Led Zeppelin until I was 50. And it was like, I was listening to it and I was just like, damn, the hell, I had my head so far up my own indie rock snob ass. Like, I didn't realize how amazing it was, But yeah, I like greatest hits records.
That's interesting.
I'm a playlist guy.
Well, you guys also did a lot of covers, and one example, and maybe you guys will even have it somewhere in your Australian set list when you're touring here next month. You did a cover of Lime Spiders, Spiders track, and that's showing up on the Boy Named Goo 30th.
Yeah, that was a song we used to listen to when we kind of all got together. It was on a mixtape we got from somebody. I think our friend Randy Metz made us a mixtape, and and that song was on it. There was a Celibate Rifles song on it, and some other bands of that era, and it's a cool song.
We had a buddy that owned a record store, a guy named Dave Olka, and he used to make mixtapes, and he would be like, Johnny, you need to listen to these songs, and it would be like the Hollies and Big Star and the Raspberries and like all these bands. And I was like, he was so intense about what I needed to listen to be a better writer. It was really cool. It was really cool to have someone like that around.
Oh, absolutely. You need a mentor. I think I learned more from the record store clerks than I did my teachers in high school.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's no question. And you're using the wisdom that was imparted to you by those people more than you're using anything you learned in high school.
Yeah. I used the Pythagoras theorem, but it was a Pythagoras theorem once.
Yeah.
I can't even say it.
I just used it to impress my kid, and she doesn't think it's impressive at all.
Yeah. So cool. So guys, are you packed yet? Are you ready to come to Australia? When are you guys hitting our shores?
You know what? I don't know exactly when we're showing up, but I know it's not far from now. It's
like at the end of February, I believe.
Yeah, I think you guys are hitting Canberra, Sydney, Newcastle, Brisbane, Adelaide, Wollongong, and Melbourne. Tickets at googooDolls.com. Of course, we talked about Boy Named Goo Deluxe Edition. 30 years to the date to the actual date, March 14th.
That's cool.
That is cool. That is great. And I assume that, that 30-year demarcation is very, such a landmark album. My one question is, do you think you guys are going to get sued from the boy on the cover like the Nirvana kid did?
Good luck. I don't know what's he gonna get. I don't know.
It'll get us on TV again. It'll be.
His father. His parents signed a release. So
good. Oh, very good. Okay, well, look, links will be in this episode page for that
awesome
deluxe edition for the tickets. And guys, travel safe.
Thank you.
And we will see you down under in February. Thanks again, man.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right,
guys.
Bye-bye, man.
Cheers. Well, that was a good time. Those are good fellas, good blokes. Can't wait to see them down here in Australia. GooGooDolls.com are where you get the tickets, or you can order the 30th anniversary edition of A Boy Named Goo. Again, there's a special 2LP C Blue pressing available only at GooGooDolls.com. Grab one before they're gone. And that's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in. And hey, each of you who are leaving positive reviews on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, well, there's a special place in heaven for each of you, and of course in my heart as well. And those of you, if you have a minute or two to spare, just hop up on there, give us 5 out of 5 stars, say something nice, make us blush. That is always appreciated. And we'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. So until we talk next time, get out there and buy some records, people. Cheers.